What is up? This is your LA in a minute, and more than 100,000 bees swarmed and attacked two people in Encino yesterday in a harrowing scene caught on video. Let's get into it. Yesterday afternoon on the 17,000 block of Adlon Road in the otherwise peaceful neighborhood of Encino, a huge beehive was disturbed. At about 4:15 p.m., the beehive was disturbed by a worker on the property, and the bees swarmed and attacked him, and then a voluntary policeman arrived on the scene, and this is what happened next. Both the worker and the voluntary LAPD officer were sent to the hospital for their injuries. The voluntary LAPD officer is said to have more than 100 bee stings. Wow. So after these bee swarms, a professional beekeeper was called in an attempt to remove the hive, but he couldn't initially because these bees were so aggressive, so active, and there were just so many of them. This is a scene on the ground in front of the property after the attack, so you could get a feel for the magnitude of how many bees were actually stinging these folks. After the beekeeper couldn't remove the hive, animal control workers came in and sprayed pesticide that releases a smell that deters the bees from returning. But the neighborhood in Encino was actually on lockdown afterward. Though bee stings are generally just a harmless nuisance, bee stings can cause a major injury or even death for those who are allergic or have a medical condition. In fact, there are 62 deaths per year in the United States from bee stings. Unfortunately, two of these folks had some pretty serious injuries and were transmitted to the hospital, but it looks like everything's going to be okay. What's not yet known is whether or not these were the Africanized killer bees that we've been hearing about since the 1990s that have indeed made their way to California. What is known is that if you do encounter a swarm of bees, do not swat at them. It will only agitate them. You're supposed to stay still and let the bees just move on. Or you could be like this gentleman in Encino yesterday and wear that beekeeper hat and take pictures. All right, LA, it's been a minute.